Hey, we're back from the Falcon Nationals, and here's something that hasn't been seen in a long time. The car actually on the ground on its own wheels. So it's wonderful to be back. I got some good motivation going to the Falcon show. And came back and started down finishing the last few things that we need to do to get this thing on the road again. So the suspension is done. Was able to get the domestic partner to help me lead the brakes, which is always a fun job. She loves doing that. And got the wheels back on it today. The coilovers are on the front, and that ride height doesn't look too bad to me right now. Originally I just ran the collar up until it made the springs snug and dropped the car down on that to see what it would look like. Well, that was way too low. So I went about an inch up from there and did that, and that's where it looks right now. It's not looking too bad. It's probably going to drop down a little bit once it moves out of the shop here, but I'm pretty pleased with that. We did have one issue with the brakes, which is surprising. It was only one. Down in here, this junction, the new line was leaking where it went into that junction block. And all it took was taking it apart and putting it back together again. I don't think the tubing was quite seated correctly when I put it together the first time. So that was the only problem so far with the brakes. So far, fingers crossed that hopefully that it just decides to keep working. And we got almost everything checked off the list here. So the only thing we have to do still is I'm going to pull the car out right now and do these two items here. This is not quite finished because I want to do measurements and make sure left and right's the same and that kind of thing. And then we only have to complete the rust patch and the torque box on the passenger side and seam seal it up when we're done. And of course get the alignment done, which is something I'm not going to be able to do here. It's not well. So I got to get an alignment appointment. And then we got to get insurance on it. Get the tag registered to the car. And then we'll be ready to hopefully roll down the highway. So I still have to do a little minor tuning here on the carb. Get that set where I want it, and the timing should be okay. And then we're going to pull it outside and give it a much needed bath and do those left side door things. Well, that certainly isn't right. I don't know if you can tell. It's kind of hard to see, but the camber is, is tragic. I don't think I have that one raised up near enough. The other side's a lot better, but it's still not quite right. Break out the adjuster tools. Here's a quirk of pre-1967 Ford ownership, and something I didn't know until very recently. This is the Cruisematic Shifter, and this car, of course, has a C4 automatic in it. The C4 is a 3-speed automatic, like most cars of the 60s. But before 1967, Ford did something really goofy with the shift pattern. And so this car has the green dot, as they call it, which you can see in the indicator right here. That's the big green dot, and then there's a little white dot next to it. And what that means is this car has what we would call drive, is where the green dot is. It is not where the white dot is. Most of these automatics, these are what I call Prindles, have the drive next to neutral, but Ford did not do it that way. They have a oddball valve body in the transmission that puts that down here. That is drive. That'll start out in first and go through second and third. If you put it in this gear, this position, it's the same except you start out in second gear. It completely ignores first gear, but it will automatically shift to third when it reaches a certain speed. And of course low is low, it just holds it in first. There were some reasons for this to gain improved traction in snow and stuff like that. But in the collector car world and driving these things as a hobby, you're never probably going to ever use that. The thing is that a lot of people don't know that, and they will put the shifter in the white dot position thinking that that's drive, and then wonder why the car is a complete and utter slug getting off the line. It's because you're in second gear. So in these cars you have to use the green dot position for actual 1 through 3 shifting. Now there's some other videos out there if you want to know how to manually shift these things, you know, down the drag strip or something. You can do it. There's a process, and it works actually okay, but I'm not going to get into it here because it's not something that most people are going to do, especially not with a column shifter anyway. So what do you do if you don't like this, which I'm not a big fan of it? You have to change the valve body in the trans, or just switch to a slightly newer transmission. But this is common in Mustangs and Falcons and, you know, pretty much every Ford that's got a C4 prior to 1967. That's when they changed it to the normal shift pattern. So I didn't know this, and I was starting off in the white dot position, wondering why this car was such a dog. I'm thinking, oh, this 206 cylinder with 100 or so horsepower is really lame. Well, it's not as lame as you might first think. So, there's your instructions and commentary on the wonderful green dot Cruisematic transmission. Know your transmission, know your shifter, and accelerate with ferocity in the green dot position. Well, here we are back down on the ground after a couple sessions with adjusting the coilover spring perches. We now have this front ride height, which looks pretty good. And it looks stock, but it's actually about an inch lower than the back, if you can believe it, measured from the bottom of the rocker panel. So I'm kind of good with that for right now. The bow-leggedness seems to have gone away to some degree, but I think there's still some negative camber there, and I'm not sure why that would be. So it's going to the alignment shop here in about a week. As soon as I could get an appointment for it, we're going to have them look at it. I don't know, maybe it'll take shims on the upper control arms. I don't know if that's what's causing the issue, but we're going to get them to handle that for us. Hopefully that's just something that can be adjusted out, because otherwise a guy should have probably bought adjustable upper control arms. But I didn't. I made those work, so fingers crossed. Waiting on the insurance to get handled, and then the registration, so it'll be street legal. And after the alignment's done, then we can start driving it and getting a sense of what we have with our 206 and C4 combination. And then we're just going to enjoy it for a while. I'm probably going to work on this paint a little bit. see if I can get some kind of light shine in it, as it's pretty flat. I'd like to try to bring it back to life a little bit. And then we'll do a little polishing of the chrome on the bumper in the front. That's pretty easy. But that should do it for this season. I still have to do the torque box patch behind the front wheel here. It's been too hot in the shop to come out here and make that. We've been having really high temperatures here over the summer. It's been the end of July, we're into the first week of August, and it's just stinking hot. I've seen 85 degrees out here in the shop, and it's been 95 to 100 outside a couple days. So just not a pleasant environment here in the middle Atlantic with all the humidity we have. So I've been ignoring this project for a little bit, staying in the air conditioning. But we'll have it out and do some road testing and see how it does. So that's going to be all for this installment. And when I come back on the next one, we should be on the road. I can give you my driving impressions of it. And then we'll begin searching for the 302 Windsor. So we'll have that to deal with over the wintertime months. And maybe we'll find another transmission too, so we can get rid of the green dot feature, which I'm not really a fan of. So stay tuned, and we'll be back once this thing's got a happy alignment on it. And my camera will focus. What's that all about? Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.